It's welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Thursday, September 9th, and I am the host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories right here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. And here are the news stories from the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. And I'm told the most important thing today is that the NFL season starts. So here we go anyway. A federal judge September here in the last few days extended his order blocking New York State from taxing two Indian nations cigarette sales to non-Indian customers while legal challenges to the state's plans continue to mount. U.S. District Judge Richard Oreilles scheduled a hearing for September 14th on a lawsuit by the Seneca and Cayuga nations, which seeks to prevent the state from imposing its $4.35 per pack sales tax on cigarettes destined for reservation smoke shops. In the meantime, the judge extended a temporary order issued last week barring collections of at least through next week's hearing. The order had been set to expire September 13th. Also, this last Tuesday, the Oneida Indian Nation of Central New York began its own federal challenge of the state tax law, filing a case in New York's Northern Judicial District, where the St. Regis Mohawk tribe also has a lawsuit pending. The 14th Annual United Tribes Tribal Leaders Summit got underway September 8th in North Dakota with Governor John Hoeven and the North Dakota Representative Earl Pomeroy, the featured speakers. The event at the Bismarck Civic Center runs through September 10th with topics ranging from renewable energy to federal Indian policy to tribal health initiatives. About 500 tribal leaders from the region are expected to attend. The United Tribes of North Dakota Board and Great Plains Tribal Chairmen's Association plan to meet on Friday, September 10th. The conference is held along with the United Tribes International Powwow, which attracts participants from across the country and Canada. A Native American historian who objects to the Indian mascot nickname used by St. Joseph's High School in South Bend, Indiana, will meet with Catholic diocese administrators to air his concerns, a diocese spokesman said. The diocese's school superintendent, the principal of the school in South Bend, and historian Brian Collier will meet September 10th. The South Bend Tribune reported that the meeting will be private and preliminary. Collier, who has two children attending Catholic schools, said he didn't think the Indian nickname and the mascot was appropriate for the 800-student high school. Collier said he was pleased that the school and diocese officials had agreed to meet with him. One reason for his objections: signs held by fans of opposing sports teams. They have signs that say, "Kill the Indians, scalp the Indians," said Collier, who works for the Alliance for Catholic Education at the University of Notre Dame. Low attendance could doom an annual American Indian gathering held in central Pennsylvania. The Native American powwow drew only about a dozen people each day during the Labor Day weekend event in York. Organizer Marty Little Crow Sheeler tells the York Daily Record that the event drew about 1,000 people per day last year, but he says he might not hold the event next year because of the dwindling attendance. Sheeler says the event raises money to help low-income families send children to an American Indian camp that works to fight racism. Thousands of acres taken from the Oglala Sioux Tribe nearly 70 years ago would be returned and managed as a tribal national park under a proposal from the National Park Service. The change involves the 208 square mile south unit that is part of the Badlands National Park in southwest South Dakota. In 1942, the U.S. government's War Department took the unit from the Pine Ridge Reservation to establish a practice bombing range that was used until the 1960s. The land was later returned to the tribe as government-held trust land to be managed by the Park Service as part of the Badlands National Park. Giving the tribe responsibility for the land is the preferred option from four management alternatives for the South Unit. It would be the first tribal national park in the nation and requires congressional approval, said Steve Thiede, Deputy Superintendent of the Badlands National Park. The Lumbee Indians of North Carolina are not slowing down in their effort to win federal recognition by January of next year. The Robazonian of Lumberton reports that a new campaign office devoted to winning recognition is slated to open this week in Pembroke, North Carolina. Tribal Chair Pernell Sweat says the tribe has also surpassed its fundraising goal of $120,000 to help pay for lobbyists working for federal recognition. The 55,000-member tribe has been recognized by North North Carolina since the 1880s. The federal government granted partial recognition in 1956, but denied the benefits that accompanied it. A bill giving the Lumbee full recognition has passed the U.S. House of Representatives and is currently before the Senate. And today we talk with 74th Wisconsin District candidate Janet Bewley, and you might ask, for a national news program like NNU, why a local district candidate is worthy of this show. Well, I remember when the candidates didn't even know there were Indian reservations in their district, let alone Indians in some cases. And so, having been asked, is there a place for somebody like me to speak briefly on IndianCountryTV.com, I said certainly, and here's what she had to say.
Janet Bewley, you're on the campaign trail today in northern Wisconsin. Tell us a little bit about the position that you're running for and the shoes you're trying to fit.
Well, I'm running for the 74th Assembly seat here in the state of Wisconsin. The 74th district is comprised of Iron, Ashland, Bayfield, and most of Sawyer counties. The 74th Assembly is one of 99 assembly districts in the state. This seat was filled previously by Gary Sherman. Gary Sherman was recently appointed to the Court of Appeals and is now in Madison as a judge. So the seat is vacant, and I am running as a Democrat.
Tell me a little bit about your district makeup here. You're on the Courte Reservation today. What are you finding out about the constituency in general in this northern Wisconsin district and your native constituents?
Well, one of the best things about the 74th Assembly District is that it's its diversity. It is comprised of many municipalities, towns, 3 Indian reservations. 3 tribes live within the 74th Assembly District. We even have an island of Madeline. We have National Lake Shore. We have state parks. We have a great deal of public land. And then the tribes, of course, comprise a very unique and distinct constituency in that tribal members are both citizens of the U.S. and the state of Wisconsin. They are also citizens of their own tribal nations. So sovereignty and the very important implications of sovereignty have to be understood well by the person who's going to represent this district.
Having worked in the governor's office once myself, sometimes I find that northern Wisconsinites have much more in common than differences when it comes to being represented in, against southern Wisconsin. You got the Milwaukee constituency, Kenosha, that whole area. What are you anticipating, in the future? Number one, that you'll get elected, I would imagine.
I certainly
but number
hope so.
2, when you go to Madison, what are you going to pitch for?
Well, first of all, we are in very, very tight budget times. The economy is desperate in most parts of the country. Here in the state of Wisconsin, we aren't immune to that. We have a budget deficit of anywhere between $2.8 and $3.9 million, depending upon how you count it. So when the legislature meets in the next session, they're going to have some very, very tough decisions to make. What I want to do is be in the room to defend the needs of the people of northern Wisconsin, and very specifically the 74th Assembly District. We are as far away from Madison as you can get. And when some cuts need to be made, typically it's those fringe areas. It's the nibbling away at the edges. And I want to make it very clear that we aren't at the edge of anything. We are at the center of our own economy, and we must remain we have to keep up the consistent funding levels. Our schools have to be consistently funded. Our municipalities have to be consistently funded. The tribes have to get access to every resource that the state can offer, and we cannot be part of what is nibbled away just so that we can balance the budget.
We have a primary coming up on September 14th, Tuesday, right. And the election is on
November 2nd.
Thanks for joining with us today. We appreciate your time.
It's been my pleasure.
And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. And remember that we're broadcasting live, pending a few digital technology tests we still have to conduct, like internet connectivity in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Look forward to parts of the Indian Summer Festival right here, if everything goes okay, on ICTV and the featured digital player. Miigwech.